just got back from a Gamblers Anonymous meeting last week. And the first guy gets up there and says, wow, I had to come back in because I'm thinking about betting preseason football. But that's right around the corner, and the temptation will be dangling out there. And I'm sure the FanDuel people would love to tempt you into thinking that this was something you could make a score on. I don't know that it is. And the man who would probably be on the opposite side of that argument joins us right now from Outkick.com. And, of course, Monster when it comes to any kind of NFL inside information. He's the number one guy. Mr. Jason Cole joins us here on the program. Jason, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. I always thought that betting on preseason football is, without question, the lowest form of degeneracy.
You're talking to our audience here. That's saying a lot. We were betting Korean baseball during the pandemic. Yeah.
Knowing the audience for the show, I think that proves something.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I get a kick out of that clip there, Lubie, no matter how many times I hear it. Only because, you really have to ask yourself, is it the lowest form of degeneracy? We've been asking this question the last couple of days here on the show. And I would have to think that you would feel you were almost on solid ground betting preseason football as compared to other things that people are betting on now. Just crazy shit, right? Especially the soccer, which is, should that not be, also included in the Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia indictments against Trump as part of the conspiracy to ruin the world? The idea that people are thinking that soccer is actually a viable sport and are betting on it like crazy people, like mad people. In fact, here are a bunch of props here. Women's World Cup, Lubie, England, Australia. And you can bet on a variety of things, including the over-under, a number of goals, obviously, relatively small there, one on a hook. What would you say? They're not anticipating 2 goals being scored in this game, Lubie. Can you imagine? I mean, what the fuck is the point of watching it? Jim Sarney was texting me like 3 a.m. Thank you, Jim, for reminding me. I mean, I was out cold, except, the dog happened to wake me up, and I hear my phone go off, and it's a text. Hey, Spain, Sweden, who do you like? I'm like, I don't know. What are we talking about here? Are they going to war? Sweden? I thought they were a peaceful country. Where's Zelensky? Unbelievable. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you on this fine Tuesday, the Defo Show. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we're happy to have you with us. So we're going to have Dave Hyde join us. A local scene, again, quoting my good friend and borrowing his favorite word, the great Al Bernstein, Hall of Famer in the Boxing Hall of Fame, Canastota, New York. You'll find Al Bernstein there. You'll find a lot of good people there, and the occasional schmenk. I don't know how they got in there, right? Jim Gray, is he in the Boxing Hall of Fame? Jim fucking Gray? Are you kidding me?
Yes. I would say yes.
For us going to say, I mean, look, I've done in-ring interviews after fights. There are not a lot of great questions that you can ask. Usually you're talking to a guy that's just had his head, twisted into a pretzel and, has had his brains scrambled like this morning's eggs. And oftentimes they don't even speak English at all and or are not particularly comfortable or fluent in English. So those interviews tend to be pretty lame. But does Jim Gray start every boxing interview after the match? Well, how would you grade your performance tonight? I give it a B+, Jim. It's like, go fuck yourself. I mean, you can't come up with another question. I probably, you know what? It's funny. People put things in your head, and then you end up doing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You couldn't feel any more lame, right? It's like the old thing the first time. I don't know if you ever had this happen. Have you done any TV where, like, the director's talking to you while you're talking, Lubie? Or had that happen where you were doing some kind of radio show? That doesn't happen in radio so much, where somebody's talking to you while you're talking off air. In other words, you're in the middle of a sentence and the guy's telling, hey, listen, you got to go to a break in 5 seconds here. No, you would just be frantically waving like a maniac. Hey, are you ever going to shut up? Are you ever going to stop?
Exactly.
Program director's pacing the hallway there. Hey, you know what? If we don't get these commercials in, nobody gets paid, Defo. We weren't too bad about it if there was money involved. That's one thing. We would always manage to get to that. But if you've ever had that distraction, you tend to say what the person said. In other words, you have some director that is particularly fond of foul language, which many of them are. Not all. There are some very calm people in the business, and then there are those that are completely frantic and in a complete panic at all times. And you'll have the guy, and every now and then you'll pick up the directions that you're not supposed to hear. And you'll get the director in your ear as you're announcing something saying, I told you to fucking zoom in. So you're calling something like, in most of my experiences, it would be like live TV boxing around the world, right? Millions of people watching, possibly. Like they were when we had that clip of the greatest fighter ever, or the worst fighter ever. That was
Worst fight ever.
Jimmy Smith. Still, I mean, what has it got? Like 4 million views on YouTube, this thing?
It
It went super viral. That was from like 30 years ago, though. Can you imagine? But your tendency then is to just repeat what you just heard because it's in your head. So all of a sudden you're saying, I told you to fucking zoom in on this guy. And, you're repeating it on air. And, it's a natural tendency. It can be a big time distraction. But yeah. Have you had that experience, Lubie, at all? Or no?
I did some stuff with Blake where we were on TV, but they were good about not talking to us while we were on air. They sort of trusted us.
Most guys are pretty good about that, yeah. or they're much more kinder and gentler with the talent than they are with the crew.
Yeah, they weren't yelling at us or screaming at us. They let us just do our stuff.
If you'd like to stop talking about Rocky movies, DeForest, we could get back to describing the action in this fight.
Yeah.
I had a tendency to go off on tangents even while,
even calling fights?
I had a great history of Philadelphia fighters, right? Look, you're trying to fill like 9 dull rounds that looked exactly the same as the previous ones. You watch the, and how many times can you say, well, this first round, I tell you what, even nothing is happening. Well, it's a feeling out process there, Joe. What do you think? Right now, the people that paid money for this are feeling pretty lousy about the fact that they're getting hosed by these two fighters who are doing absolutely nothing. They never just tell the truth, right? Listen, Donnie boy, just tell the truth. Things would be so much easier, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
What did you think about this latest stuff out of Atlanta, Lubie? Is that going to amount to anything?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It seemed pretty elaborate, right? 100 people indicted here. I mean, it really was like they brought in the Gambino family and all of their soldiers and, people that are out there in the streets, bone breakers. They brought in everybody on this thing. Nothing?
First of all, I don't know which one you're talking. I didn't know there was more.
The Atlanta indictment, they on a RICO Act, they indicted Trump and like 18 other people, all tied into one case now.
So like,
what do you think?
So he can just keep like, back in the day, wouldn't guys have tapped out by now? Like, I'm asking you. I don't remember. I don't remember anyone being this
tapped out of the race.
Like, yes, like in other eras when someone was involved in criminal acts in the middle of political races, didn't they just stop running? Like, am I wrong? Am I thinking of movies? Like, I don't remember this much criminal activity around.
People stopped running when they were caught having an affair, man.
Right? Am I wrong? Like, I don't remember this much stuff, so I don't remember.
No, but this emboldens the Trump campaign.
I don't understand.
And all of his followers. They think it's good. I mean, they think it's an example. It's the old thing about, like, if it looks like a fish, smells like a fish, probably is a fish, right? Somewhere at the bottom of the barrel there. I mean, how much of this can you say? Oh, well, geez, it's all Biden. He's triggered the. It's funny too. I mean, the other side, naturally. I mean, which is represented by my New York Post sports section. Great. The rest of the paper, you really have to proceed with caution, right?
You're right.
Or your mind might become warped. Where the front page has nothing to do with these indictments that went down last night. Might have been too late for this particular Bulldog edition.
What are they?
But it's all about Joe Biden saying that he, they're implying that Biden doesn't care about these people in Hawaii, these poor people.
What?
That had their city burned down in Lahaina. That, he was riding by on a bike and somebody shouted on a question and said, "Hey, Joe, what about the people in Hawaii?" And he just, did one of these. The guy probably can't hear shit anyway, right? He's wearing a helmet. He's rolling around in the grass. He's just hoping not to fall down. It's not exactly like Joe Biden's going to be one of the favorites in the Tour de France anytime soon.
No.
You think?
The dude still at least rides a bike. When was the last time Donald Trump was on a bike? Like, bike in his home? What do you like?
Can you imagine? I mean, when was the last time? I guess he golfs.
Does he
So is
golf?
that a form of
We never actually
exercise?
see him play a round of golf. We see like little snippets of him doing posing. I don't know what athletic abilities this person has. Whatever. You bring
Didn't
this
he
up.
play second base for his
Yes, for the
high
Yankees.
school baseball team?
Yeah,
I think that was one of our trivia questions. At one time, the guy got it wrong.
there you go.
Who would know? I mean, he probably claims that he has athletic prowess. No,
I
he
don't
was
know.
always interested in being, hanging around with sports stars. All right, well, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, this happened last night. Broke about 9 o'clock. It was going on all day, and people thought it was going to go into today, but it was interesting because the grand jury came back, and then they had a clip of the clerk of courts, and she's typing like a madwoman, and then she hands the judge like a stack of papers. I guess this was like 100-page indictment. I don't know that he had to sign off on all of it, but he just kind of looks at it and goes, "Oh, okay."
The
Out the
Republicans
door.
have no one moderate. Like,
The guy that was testifying against Trump, he was a lieutenant governor of Georgia, former lieutenant governor of Georgia, and I mean, to me, he seems very reputable by comparison to. He's saying the things that you would expect somebody that had any level of dignity and consideration for what the job actually is to be representing, which is, hey, get rid of this guy. Let's get some issues going. And even if you don't believe in the Republican side of things or how they would go about their business, at least this guy's saying, let's get into some policies here.
they
And
can't run anyone else. Like, people are
No.
acting like the election's not until the end of 2024. Like, we shouldn't even be in
What
elections.
are the odds that Trump makes it to the election? I believe he's going to win again. I think you ought to put down as much money as you can on Trump to be president.
I just don't see him being the actual nomination. I just don't know who. It's not DeSantis either. DeSantis is like third now.
Yeah. All right.
They don't have anyone else. No, they have no one else. They have a year and 4
Who's
months.
next in line, man? Your boy, Ron DeSantis.
Like, no, he's not.
The
next in line.
reincarnation of Adolf himself. What are you talking about? This
He's like
guy's
40.
nuts.
They have no-
He's more damaging than Trump because at least Trump can't be trusted. These people think that DeSantis is actually the real deal. I guess that's dissipating. But anyway, it's all a mess. And another indictment comes down last night. Hundreds of pages of stuff. So there'll be a lot of speculation about that. I was flipping back and forth between awaiting the announcement of what was really going to come down there on the Georgia thing, which has been going on for a while. And that's the case where you have Trump on the phone going, and he doesn't even articulate what it is that he's trying to engage the person in terms of criminal activity well, right? Because he says, I just need to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. But it's like, you don't have those votes. You're asking a guy to go find them there, Donnie Boy. So obviously you need one more than Biden has. That's what you're talking about. But when he's on the phone asking somebody to do something of a criminal nature, it's funny how his speech pattern changes dramatically from the rhetoric that he spews out when he's at these rallies. And he's just calling everybody names. A whole different pattern. I don't know. If you were some kind of psychoanalyst of, the way people present themselves, you probably could see some kind of definitive thing there that proved to you that this man's out of his mind, just flat out crazy. All right, so I'm flipping back and forth, and this has become very exciting. Lubie, are you okay with this? It was not much more than a week ago that we were almost blowing taps for Kim Ng, for the Miami Marlins, and for this Cinderella season that was a continuation of a ride that we haven't seen here in South Florida ever. Unprecedented. Lubie, college teams in the Final Four. Do I have to go over the entire, the story here?
Yeah, it's been an amazing run.
Miami Heat, which, you're thinking, is anything short of a championship? I mean, it can't be considered a failure as a season, can it?
I mean,
Do teams really think that way? Like, look, only one team out of 30 in Major League Baseball can win the championship. So, and in basketball, same thing. So you have only 3%, a 3.33% chance of having success as a franchise in any given year. You would have to consider what last year's Miami Heat season to be. I mean, the redemption that came with their run in the postseason would have to have qualified that as an extremely successful season, no? Even though the regular season was kind of And it wasn't because you had a bunch of stars and you were going to use your magic wand theory, Lubie. Just wave the magic wand over, and all of a sudden they're all going to wake up. because nobody could have anticipated this kind of wake up call that we saw. Could they? Same thing. I don't know. About the Florida Panthers. They were supposed to be a better team than they were down the stretch when they looked like they might fall out of the postseason altogether. I don't know, were the Heat, were expectations all that high for the Miami Heat? They didn't seem to be as good as the teams that ultimately beat them in the standings in the regular season. Now, they were able to overcome those teams. I mean, were they as good as Milwaukee? Would you still say? Would you rather have Milwaukee's roster than the Miami Heat's roster going into last season and even going into this next season? What do you think, Lubie? Who would you rather be, the Milwaukee Bucks or the Miami Heat right now?
I'd rather be the Heat. I know people don't give a shit about.
You would rather be the Heat than the Milwaukee Bucks with Antetokounmpo.
Well, he's a great player, but they had their whole team, and they lost to a Heat team that was hurt.
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather be like this idea that the Heat were this lucky, fluky. Look, the Heat, you didn't know that they were.
Budenholzer gone, right?
Yeah,
Who'd they hire? A guy from Phoenix?
They had some assistants. I'll look it up.
All right. Oh no, he went to Detroit. The guy from Phoenix.
The idea that the Heat were fluky, yeah, because no one saw it coming the way that they played against the Atlanta Hawks, but they had been to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 out of the previous 3 years, and they had a team that had been to the finals. Like the team had success. They were the second most injured of any team in the NBA last year. Like that's not an excuse. That's literally a fact. They missed the second most amount of games of anyone in the league. So it made sense that they were going to look different. But by the end of the year, outside of Hero, their entire team was there. So they were a different team by the end of the year last year than they were the entire freaking year. So if that team's together, I'll take that team over anyone. They're tough. They can play inside.
You would take them over the Celtics. You would take them over Philadelphia.
Yeah. Philadelphia.
I know you would take them over the Knicks because you would take any team.
Philadelphia's a disaster.
If the Knicks had Bill Bradley and Clyde Frazier, you would still take the Heat over the Knicks. Well, if they had them now, I guess it wouldn't do them a whole lot of good. But
I take him over. I don't know what the Bucks are going to be. Like Middleton was not the same dude last year. If Middleton gave them anything in that series, they should have dispatched the Heat. Middleton was like
he was in and out with injuries last year, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, in the series, though, he was healthy. He was healthy in that playoff series.
But wasn't he coming back? Didn't he come back late in the season? I think he did.
He did. But that's the thing. Okay, that's him every year. Like, so I don't know what to do with the Bucks. I know look, the guys that Heat lost were not core guys. Like everyone's making Vincent, who was barely in the rotation until later in the year. And then he was a big factor in the playoffs. And
guys play better when they're with the Heat.
Yes,
they do.
Other guys do.
That's true.
Why can't other guys do that? So I don't know. Where the Heat are to me is a stronger position than anyone else because you know what you're going to get from them. Look, Hero's only going to help them, not hurt them. Like these other teams, I don't know what the fuck they are. The Celtics made major changes to their core chemistry. Like whether you like Smart or Williams, which I don't like either of them, they both.
They didn't really have the ability to finish teams off like they should.
Oh, but who did they add to do that?
Whereas like Denver had that. They had the ability to finish a game. They rarely screwed up in that capacity. Well, once in a while, it's going to happen to all teams in that particular league where, I guess any pro league, right, where you just get out finished by somebody else that's not as good as you are. You'll see the Hawks rise up and win games, and you're thinking, how are they doing that? With Trae Young chucking 40-footers? Get out of here. Who wants that? But Denver was very good. That's what we spotted early on, right, in the postseason, that they were just good at finishing off teams. The Lakers would make some noise, and then boom, they just shove them into the toilet there, and that was it. And they were good. I mean, the Heat, as much as they threatened, in the end, it was always the stronger team. The team that was winning. Lubie, are you ready for this? Holy Mara Ronaldo. The championship rounds. These are the championship rounds, right? Last 4 or 5 minutes of a game. Who was making the solid plays? It was always the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't say the Heat or the Nuggets. Yes, I'd rather be the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets right now are the best team in the NBA.
No, but in the East, I'm talking about. East? No, for our conversation, you would take the Heat over any other roster.
I think the Heat made a run without their second best offensive player, third best player. I don't think anyone else in the NBA could say that. And here
so it was Cinderella, though. So I'm just, to continue, I mean, because we're trying to get to this baseball game last night, which was sensational.
Yes. The run of South Florida. Yes, that's what you're getting to. Surprising Cinderella.
Run of South Florida. Surprise teams. Yeah. We got, into details there about the Miami Heat that we really, I mean, how vague could they be, those details? We have no idea what the hell is going to happen next year, do we? If they don't land Damian Lillard, it's over, right? Pat Riley's going to be slitting his wrists up there.
See, I don't agree, but okay.
He'll be cutting little paper dolls out like Perry White. And don't call me chief. I mean, imagine Spoelstra comes up there. Riley just fires at him as he comes through the door. And don't call me chief. Like he's losing it. Pat Riley. Not happening, right? There seems to be like just a very subtle silence about this whole thing now that makes you think that will happen. Because usually you would have this being discussed like, well, we should just test Dave Hyde out and see if he ever brings up Damian Lillard without us bringing it up to him. What do you think when he comes on the show?
Probably won't. It's not really a topic right now. The Blazers are just not going to trade him.
Well, wouldn't it be like in any other city where the people were just crazed, saying, "Hey, when's it happening? When's it happening?" Every day there'd be another attempt to contact the GM there with the Blazers.
But he's just
say, what are you crazy? What do you want to have a James Harden situation on your hand?
I don't know. He until Lillard doesn't play an active game or an active camp, he is going to he's going to write it out, the GM with the Blazers. So that's why it's become a moot point. They won't even engage the Heat in conversation anymore. And the Heat are the only offer. No one else is offering. There's no better offer. They want to keep Damian, and they're ignoring everything he said. And they're thinking whatever he said was a load of garbage.
We're seeing, I don't know if this is last minute. I guess, in the NFL, we saw a couple of running backs sign yesterday. Your man, Dalvin Cook, is going to be a New York Jet, Lubie, after all. So the Jets, you would have to think, fortified themselves even more, Mike Lubitz, that they now have a dynamic wide receiver, a running back who you think is as capable as anybody in the league and is upper echelon and has been for several years. Might have tailed off a little bit, in the last season or so, but still, if he, dare we say this? If he keeps his nose clean, is that minimizing the fact that, this guy has been in various, spousal abuse types of incidents? At least those are the assertions, right? Has he ever been convicted of anything or pled guilty to any of this stuff? Dalvin Cook, is he in that kind of trouble? Mike Lubitz, the former FSU star? No?
No, coming out, they had stuff from his childhood about dogs because he's from sort of the
Michael Vick country
area. He's just from the areas of Miami where they dog fight, and but that wasn't. He was a kid, and it didn't follow him into adulthood. And I haven't heard anything about him with that since. There
was some inference about domestic violence or something.
Oh, he had some incident, but I don't think it went anywhere, and I don't think I don't think it went anywhere. I think it got dropped. I don't remember him even having any issues with it.
Okay, well, here it is. It's right here on the back page. Dalvin Cook, with 4 1,100-yard seasons to his credit, is joining Aaron Rodgers and the Jets on a reported 1-year, $8.6 million deal. Cook's talent isn't in question, Lubie, though he has slowed from his peak, but he has made off-field headlines more than once, including an ongoing domestic violence lawsuit. So we don't know. That could be, a false allegation that's been posed against him. But nonetheless, the Jets end up with Dalvin Cook, Libby, which does what for you? Nothing? You're not inclined to reassess your opinion about how strong the Dolphins are versus the New York Jets roster?
I think it makes them better. I don't know what a running back does in this day and age.
Ezekiel Elliott also, he signs with the Patriots.
Oh, he's done. I mean,
he looked like a shot fighter, though, to me, didn't he?
Yeah, Elliott's done. Cook isn't done. Cook's still a top 5 running back in the NFL. Cook's still a really good running back. And he makes you better. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved the Dolphins to have him. But to me, it's all about your offensive line. If your offensive line is good, any running back looks good in today's NFL. They're all fast. They can all scat back and forth, run through the line. The running back position has become very
interchangeable.
Time it doesn't. Yeah. Interchangeable. It's all about the line. To me, the Dolphins have enough talent. I don't know if the Jets do. I guess Breece Hall's still not healthy.
Jets offensive line. Well, you got that Mickey Becton guy. You never know what he's going to do. Usually nothing.
He might not even make the roster. Supposedly.
Yeah, he. I guess I don't know. He was back in training camp and supposedly had lost weight and was dedicated and focused and all of this stuff. And then I think he might have gotten hurt again. Mickey Becton. But I don't know that there's anything serious there. Haven't been seeing too much about him in the who's hot and who's not.
Yeah.
Mickey Becton. But yeah, I mean, most of the references have been Ben Gazzara time, right? That how is Aaron Rodgers going to fare in New York? How much is he going to love New York when he's running for his life?
That's the thing is, I think the line is going to matter, and their line isn't
Yeah.
good. Like it's
Okay,
just not.
we'll see.
We'll see. Look, Cook, I think will help them, but he does, like one of my friends who can't stand the Jets was like, "Oh my God, what is this going to do?" I'm like, "Eh." I'm like, it doesn't make them scary. It makes them a good team, which is what we thought they'd be. I want to see them on the field. Like, I want to see Aaron Rodgers behind that line in New York. I want to see that.
Everybody wants to see it. I mean, it's probably the biggest storyline in the NFL this year, is it not? Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets.
Yes.
They're hard knocks. They got the whole thing going, Rodgers with his discontent in Green Bay the last couple of years, it couldn't have been any more painfully obvious. He's on the sidelines there. He looked like he was being tortured. Looked like, that Russian roulette scene in Deer Hunter as he was on the sideline there. And, De Niro's telling him, hey, will an empty chamber, Aaron. It might not be so. And then the adaptation from Green Bay to New York are just unbelievable in terms of the social scene, which surprisingly, Rodgers, who seems to be a bit reclusive, loves to be in that celebrity spotlight, does he not?
Yeah, right now.
I mean, he's a veritable Johnny Weir. I mean, wearing fur coats and weird outfits. Just running around New York City, loving life. And we know he has a bit of a playboy instinct also because, look, he's been featured with any number of what people would consider to be high-quality babes, no?
High famous. I don't know about quality. I mean, I'm not going to judge the quality, but they're high famous.
I'm talking about just from a physical standpoint, high-quality babes. We don't know. I mean, is Danica Patrick some kind of psycho? Could be.
Could be.
Olivia Munn? I don't know. I mean, is there a very favorable opinion of her publicly? I'm not sure. No, they don't like her, huh?
You just don't hear much about her and the stuff with his
I
family.
think she's married, happy now, has like kids and the whole thing. Got rid of Rodgers.
There you go.
But we'll see. When he's looking up at the lights, right? Do we take out advertising on Aaron Rodgers' sneakers? The old joke from boxing, right? Well, where's your ad? I don't see it on his trunks. He said, I took it out on the bottom of his shoes. He'll be looking up at the lights by the second round. That's it. I should be getting a lot of airtime with that. We're still trying to get to this baseball game, though. So we had Cinderella rides everywhere. Can it continue with the Marlins? We'll get into that. Dave Hyde is going to join us around 8 o'clock, and we'll explore that some with him. Because it appears, and I would love to be dead wrong about this, that we were dead wrong, Lubie, just a week ago.
That would make me very happy. We were starting to write their epithet.
Dead wrong. I mean, if you look at what's happening, right? They hit back-to-back home runs last night. Only the second time in franchise history, and I believe the last time was in 1998. Is that possible? That pathetic season that they had. And that was the only other time that they've hit back-to-back home runs. Had a chance to make it 4 in a row. They had Berger at the plate there, and he couldn't do it. I think he ended up striking out to end that streak. But Soler gets up, hits a line drive. They're up 2-1 and really clinging to what would seem to be, does it take a genius to figure out that a one-run lead is somewhat tenuous with the Marlins at this stage? Now, they've won a ton of one-run games, and they still have a big upside because they're starting to come back in that category now, having taken out one from the Yankees, that thrill in Manila game that they had the other day. And then, here are the Houston Astros very much alive, trying to win their division. And, a quality team, although if you look at the way they're producing this year, Altuve's having a big year. Many of their other guys from a hitting standpoint are off. As we've seen with a lot of teams where, you're looking through the lineup and you're hard-pressed to find a 250 hitter. So, but the Astros still, we know, are a quality team. They have all of these attributes of, knowing how to win and all that stuff. Even if they use whatever possible Belichickian means they can find to put together a winning season and winning games. And they had Valdez on the mound there, who just pitched a no-hitter, right? Wasn't that his previous start?
Yes.
I believe it was. And he was very effective last night, man. This guy throws some pretty good junk from a left hand. He's not a guy that's necessarily going to blow you away, although I think they clocked one of his fastballs in the, I don't know if it was high 90s, but, it might have been, would you consider 96? Is that even, is that like Randy Jones type of velocity now in Major League Baseball?
Oh, it's solid. It's just not flamethrower.
Those college kids were all throwing like in the high 90s
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
college baseball World Series. It was sick. I mean, a guy would come in. How many college teams? You wouldn't imagine most college teams when they got to like. I can guarantee you that Syracuse team, by the time we got to like our fifth relief pitcher, I mean, you were talking about a guy that probably shouldn't be, should have quit baseball in the Little League. You just happen to be out there. How many quality arms can you have on a college pitching roster? And yet they're all throwing the ball. They were all throwing the ball in the high 90s. So is that nothing by major league standards today? To have a mid 90s, high 90s fastball?
Yeah, 95 to 97 is like average.
This Valdez has everything going down, though. Valdez,
Yeah,
Framber Valdez, man, sinker.
Yeah,
This is a big pitch. And supposedly they're clocking this sinker at like 94 miles an hour.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
A sinker.
Insane pitch to hit.
That's illegal. What are you talking about? That's Gaylord Perry City. You have to be putting something on the ball to get a sinker to go 94 miles an hour and then just drop into an abyss. It was incredible. So he was very effective. He went 7 2/3. He's down 2-1 in the ball game. Braxton Garrett, who was pitching for the Marlins, was in trouble from virtually every inning. He was on the ropes and managed to work his way out of it with no damage being done. So they take a tenuous 2-1 lead. That was the word I was looking for like an hour ago, Lubie. No, but a 1-run lead against the Astros wasn't exactly something that you were thinking, wow, this is a cinch. And with this type of team, what? Are you also thinking that at any time it can go backwards, completely in the opposite direction, as it did after the All-Star break?
Yes.
When they came out of the chute there and they couldn't win a ball game. They lost like 8 in a row.
100%.
Incredible. To his credit, the Skip Schumacher continues to be a very impressive character because he did not duck away from any of the rhetoric that was going around there about how, well, this is unfortunate. What a shame. It's Kim Eng. She butchered it again. And then when you look at how dangerous Soler has become, I still have trouble excusing away the 244 batting average. But 244 with 29 homers in today's major leagues, and especially the way he's doing it and with the timing that he's had with home runs. That was a huge shot last night to start that back-to-back home run swing that the Marlins had.
Well, because even if they don't get the other 2 runs, you now have a 2-run cushion. And that's the thing they've been missing in these games. That 3-1 makes you feel a lot.
Oh, huge. No doubt. Yeah. Because even the way the Astros got their 1 run, I mean, Pena, I guess he either singled or walked, and then he moved to second and third on wild pitches.
Yeah, there you go.
So he might have scored. I don't think he would have scored if he was on first base, because Altuve doubled him home with a ringing double into the corner, and that was that. Altuve is the only guy on the Astros that has a season of any legitimacy going compared to what they've done in the past, and yet they're right there in the race. Which they're obviously going to be a tough out no matter what. And again tonight for the Marlins, but huge victory, and it puts them in a good position. As they got Arias hits a home run. After that, I mean, just a ringing shot, man, right down the line in right field. And then not known for his power. That's only his 5th home run of the year, but his average now in the high 360s. I think he's hitting like 366 maybe. But I mean, just been remarkable all year long. And then this Josh Bell hits a home run, which he now, I mean, how many home runs has he hit as a Marlin already?
Oh, as a Marlin?
These were your additions. I mean, Berger's been, both Bell and Berger are hitting over 300 since they've come to the Marlins.
They've done their job. They're getting on base and they're hitting the ball out of the park, the things that the Marlins needed desperately.
Extra base hits. Yeah, I mean, that's been pretty incredible. Robertson now, did he have just 1 blown save so far?
Yeah.
David Robertson
last week, but he got it done, and it was just that annoying ass one where Alcantara pitched out of his fucking mind, and
yes,
Robertson,
came in there and blew the save. Yeah, but I mean, I think that was his only negative performance in terms of just doing something that cost the team a game.
Well, this Nardi guy, and the Scott guy, like they come in and they're like freaking lights out.
Good, yes, yeah.
What the hell?
And they used Lopez, another guy they acquired at the trade deadline or right around the trade deadline. So, and you have to factor in that Soler. I mean, he may not have looked anything like this last year, but he's having, by any standard, a super year at the plate with the
Yes.
29 home runs. Equates out to what? He's got about
He's
6
got
weeks
40.
left in a regular season. Can he hit
He's a-
40? I don't know about that, but
I mean,
we haven't had Marlins with like 35 home runs, and these are colossal shots. I mean, they're Stanton-esque line drives right out of the ballpark. So that was great. I mean, just a great little series there, and the place was rocking. It was late in the game, Lubie. Game was going by, transpiring very quickly because the Marlins, I think, had only had 4 hits up to that point when Valdez left the ball game after 7 2/3, and they open it up to 5-1. They hang on, and now find themselves entrenched, Lubie, in wild card spot number 3. Only a half game back of San Francisco and one up on the Cubs and the Reds.
yep.
So here it is. The Cinderella ride continues. It continues, Lubie,
I know it's
with
great.
yet another team that, if they made the postseason, you would have to say that what was yet one more Cinderella story in the cycle.
Oh, and the
No,
thing is, when you look at how they would shake out in the playoffs, outside of the Braves, the rest of the National League isn't scary. I mean, they literally, the way their pitching sets up, Alcantara's finally looking out like Alcantara. Luzardo, until the last month, was pitching.
Lazardo's been getting
really
touched up
well.
every time I see him. Yeah.
Pitching really well. Cabrera has been solid. I mean, their bullpen now looks like a real bullpen. Their lineup is actually starting to hit like a real lineup. Look, the Braves are scary, fine. But even they've come back to the pack a lot in the second half. Like
I don't know about that. Yeah. I mean, the Braves are good.
No, the Braves are scary, but they're not yet. But they're not at the pace that it was like fucking the Mariners in like the early 2000s. It's not some record-breaking pace anymore. But outside of them, the rest of the National League isn't scary. I mean, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, the Cubs, like all
Mid-pack teams. Yeah.
Even the Phillies, their team sets up to be an interesting playoff team if they can keep it together.
Very good analysis there, Libby.
We'll see.
No, that was great. I mean, you hit it right. Tim McCarver's got to be, thinking, wow, there is someone who can carry the torch.
Uh-huh.
Joe Garagiola is smiling, saying
Sure.
some reasonably, astute baseball talk on TV.
Oh, God.
What can you say? Look, we're hoping to continue. I have to say, it was exciting last night. I found myself getting a little bit emotional when Soler hit that bomb, and then to see back to back to back, and all this was going on as I'm flipping back and forth to wait and see if this district attorney there in Atlanta is going to get up and say, "Oh, we got him. We got him."
So stupid.
Yeah, like parading around with a picture of Trump in an orange jumpsuit, saying this is the new orange. Excuse me. All right, we're coming back with more here in a moment. Dave Hyde's going to join us. He'll try to illuminate the story about the Miami Marlins, which we were dead wrong. I don't mind being dead wrong about this one. Thought the moves were cosmetic before the season started. Very disappointed in what Kim Ng did last year. Avisel Garcia remains a stiff, unfortunately, but and I didn't think Soler was all that. So, we were wrong about that. We had already pronounced, I don't know if it was dead on arrival. We were a little optimistic. On paper, it made sense, these moves that Kim Ng made, but there was no guarantee that you were going to see Berger start hitting the ball, making better contact, not striking out as much. And Josh Bell, I don't know. What did you make of that? It seemed like a decent idea. But you didn't think he was going to produce like he has.
Oh.
And then on top of that, everybody's alluding to the idea that he's immediately become like a big team leader.
I was gonna say, you'll see him make these hits, and he's like doing the celebration shit, and it seems like he's rallying the troops. Guy,
he looks as happy as Aaron Rodgers does in New York, doesn't he? Where was he before? Pittsburgh?
He was with the Guardians recently, and the Guardians.
Cleveland. Yeah, okay.
Cleveland too. The combination of Cleveland and a sucky team.
Imagine what kind of a shithole of a city is Cleveland. A lot of people like Cleveland. I can't say that I've spent enough time there to have a legitimate opinion. I don't even know if I've ever been there. Have you been to Cleveland, Ohio?
I've only heard negatives. I've only heard people say it's fucking one of the Sacramento of the Midwest.
Been to Cincinnati. That's okay, except for Mayo's obsession with Skyline chili. Imagine this is a guy. I mean, we love Mayo, but and he was the food critic for the Sun Sentinel. Think about that, and a very eloquent one, right? I mean, the guy could write this stuff. He has a way with words. This kid, he knew the vernacular, he knew the language of the food business, and he could talk to these people that were highfalutin foodies and speak their language very well. And then he's going out and buying frozen Skyline chili, not even going to the place, not a game. Not a game. Frozen. I would rather, just go ahead and without defrosting them, eat a package of frozen smells. Skyline chili, man. If they didn't name it chili, it wouldn't be so offensive. Would you agree with that, Lubie? If it was Skyline Schmenktum or whatever.
Like some kind of a sauce, and you were expecting
Skyline Schmutz. Just call it Skyline. It's not chili. Skyline. You know what you're getting when you go there. You're getting something that looks like chili, smells like chili, and then when you taste it, it's a fucking Cinnabon. Get the fuck out of here. Right? And then you put beans and onions on anything, it's going to be about the same, isn't it? Pile like a bunch of shredded cheese on there. Are you really? I mean, is it complicated what these guys are doing? No. But it's awful. Cleveland's got to be worse, though. Cleveland's known for its ballpark mustard, which I respect that.
Yes.
Have you had that? Have you ever had? I've had somebody sent me like a thing.
Doc brought it.
And it was very good. Yeah.
I have it. Doc brought it back from Cleveland. It's good. It's your spicy mustard. It's just spicy mustard. It's good.
Right. I mean, it's up there, with Gouldens or any deli mustard.
Yes. It's like a real standard, like a real mustard. You can put it on a hot dog and you don't feel embarrassed. Like it fits.
There were nothing, there was nothing like there was a Shea Stadium water dogs where the guy would like spear one and then put it on a bun and then he would give you a little package of Gouldens mustard. Bite it with your teeth, smear it on there. It was fantastic, right? How do you feel about packaged relish, Louie?
I don't mind it. I'm okay. It's better than
packaged onions when they give you the little onions in a package for a hot dog.
No, the onions are a little.
I'm not a big fan of either of those two, but the packaged Gouldens mustard is good. All right, we're coming back with more. Dave Hyde going to join us, and we'll talk about the local scene. He's probably zeroed in on the Dolphins organization as well, right? Which seems to be, a certain level of what you call it, confident complacency about the Dolphins this year. There's a genuine, feeling that they're really going to do well. Now we thought that last year, didn't we?
Well, and
they did just as well as they did the year before, which we thought was an El Stinkaroo.
I mean, they were improved. The injury bug hit them at a weird time, and that's why they went through that losing streak. We'll see if they can somehow fight it off. They didn't add depth. And Taron Armstead getting hurt is what fucked them last year. They didn't add any depth.
That was the thing that they had an understanding of, that this guy is almost always going to be hurt for
100%.
That he plays hurt. I mean, you talk about your wounded warrior. That's this guy, is he not?
Mm-hmm. And
they didn't do guys that he's needed surgery since the first week of the preseason, but he put it off so he could get out there and be with his boys and the teammates there. He did it for the team. Seems to be that type of guy. That's good, but I mean, it's not like you got Richmond Webb out there at this point.
Well, the problem is they didn't address it. That's the things that held them back last year. They didn't improve in those areas. Now you're thinking it's year 2 in this offense, so as good as it was last year, it should be even better. But we'll see. I don't know. My issue is the offensive line, and that hasn't changed. And Greer and Ross have a weird thing about the offensive line. They'll spend everywhere but the offensive line.
Yeah.
The most important, considering your quarterback is injury prone and fragile, then you should put all your focus on the offensive line, and they put none. They literally did not address it at all.
Yeah, I mean, you need a new carburetor, but instead you go out and put a fancy tailpipe on it. You still ain't going to run. I mean, you haven't fixed the problem. Bingo. All right, now we're coming back with more. And we have solutions. I don't know that we have any solutions for anything. I thought your baseball analysis was as astute as any I've heard. How they could employ A-Rod when we're capable of coming up with this stuff. Like, it'd be nice to see them keep it going. There you go, kids. They can continue to hit. They'll do well offensively.
Sound like John Madden.
They pay people a lot of money to make these kind of statements.
They do.
It's great. There is not, there are not a lot of new things in sports. Rarely are you blindsided, which is also in the news. We could get into that a little bit, but
Oh my God, have you heard that thing?
yeah, the Michael Horror story.
It sort of felt like it though. Like if you watch, not the movie,
These were complete scumbags that
real-
supposed. Yeah.
if you ever saw like the real people, because they did a lot of interviews after the movie, the lady seemed very fucking.
Seemed like a douchebag in a movie to me. I mean, it's portrayed by Sandra Bullock,
I just
and
like Sandra
obviously,
Bullock, so I gave her a benefit of the doubt. But like,
how did Sandra Bullock win an Oscar for that?
yeah, that was an Oscar.
They should have just given an Oscar to Nick Saban for acting like he was a decent human being, which we know that he isn't. That's some real acting. How did Saban not win that? And he would have complained about it too, saying, "I don't have time for these kind of things, these kind of awards and honors. You know what? Here, you take it. You deserve it." Sandra, how did she win an Oscar for that? Was that really? I mean, does that make you think like, wow, Meryl Streep had to be losing it if she was a nominee that year, and Sandra Bullock won for that piece of shit movie, Blindside?
It's not even real.
I mean, Nick Saban looked like a decent guy. How unrealistic is that? You talk about fiction. All right, we're coming back with Dave Hyatt. He is a decent guy. He's going to join us here in just a few minutes on the program. The Marlins writing a remarkable story there, Lubie. And Los Dolphins, I mean, just inherent confidence that you have in this team scares me to death. Back with more in a moment. Now that. Just an unwavering confidence Lubie has in his ball club. It's 7:56.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Dave Hyatt. You almost think about sending sympathy cards to your brothers in the media that had to attend that game, which I have the good fortune of not having to schlep down to these Dolphin games. But we've been equating it with the saga of Terry Schiavo, which you'll remember, Dave Hyatt, where the family was begging Jeb Bush forever to let them pull the plug on this poor woman who'd been in a coma for like 2 decades. And that's kind of what watching that game was like. I don't know. Were you forced to attend that in your duties with the Sun Sentinel, or as a columnist with pretty much free choice over what material you're going to put in the newspaper and make as your contribution? Did you find something out of town, perhaps, to cover that day?
I did go to the game, and the lead
Oh
of
my
my
God!
column was quick. What's the phone number of the researchers who are studying brain damage from the NFL? I want to donate my brain.
That Nowitzki guy, you got him on hold. I mean, that's great.
I want to donate my brain because it's been damaged. It's been damaged from the last couple decades.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show here, the Defo Show on a Tuesday, and always a pleasure to welcome this gentleman to the program and the author of those comments that you heard in the clip about attending preseason football. I think that was a particularly dull one.
Yes.
That we were discussing that day. I don't know. Was it against the Redskins or something?
It's not like this past Friday was scintillating. It was 6-3 with like 3 minutes left.
Well, I mean, that was monumental in terms of action compared to the game Dave and I were talking about during that clip. We welcome to the show from the Sun Sentinel, the distinguished columnist and the man here in South Florida when it comes to anything being put into a sporting perspective. We welcome Dave Hyde to the program. David, how are you, my friend?
Morning, Defo. These intros just get better and better. That's tremendous use of words right there for saying what I do. I never thought of myself that way. So very good.
You are the man here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If people need an opinion, where do they go? They go running to Dave Hyde, and they try to figure out what's going on. Now we happen to be, and I'm not ashamed about this. I feel good about this. We might have been dead wrong about a couple of things when it came to this latest Cinderella story, the Miami Marlins, because we had discussed this, and I agreed with you. It seemed like the Kim Eng moves prior to the season were largely cosmetic. There was one dramatic trade, which, this guy is going to, I would assume, accomplish something that's unprecedented, which we did a little research on this, and I was surprised to find only one other player in history has led both leagues at one time in batting average and won the batting title, and that was DJ LeMahieu.
It was 4 years apart.
What's that?
It was 4 years apart.
Yeah, well, but not in consecutive years. But he was the only guy to ever do it. I thought maybe there would have been others, in the history of Major League Baseball. But they got this guy Luis Ariz, and it looks like he's going to accomplish that feat, having won the title in the American League last year. And I don't know that he's even catchable this year. He could probably, go 0 for the next 90 and still hold off his nearest competitor. But the story became like a Cinderella story all of a sudden, and we thought. After a week, the results from the moves made at the trade deadline looked like they were dead on arrival. And all of a sudden, those guys are, a part of like massive celebrations every night. What do you make of this, Dave? Is this something? Are we seeing finally some kind of change that we can relate to in terms of the direction of the Miami Marlins?
Even at the All-Star break, I said, look, they are second to last in the league in runs scored. They're doing this with smoke and mirrors, and obviously good pitching and Mel Stoudemire Jr. But then they went out and they did what really they should have done. They went out and they got some hitting. It wasn't headline-making moves across baseball, like Max Scherzer goes to Texas. But you get, Berger and Josh Bell, and all of a sudden you have a little home run punch to you, and they're fitting into what 2023 is to South Florida. All the Heat surprise, the Panthers surprise, FAU, Miami is. You got to question: are the Marlins going to be the next team that surprised? Because they're right now they're in the playoffs, or they're they put up those wild card standings every day, and they're the third wild card team in right now.
I was, very disappointed to see the team part ways with Don Mattingly. It's almost like it was, a show of mercy on the part of the Marlins to let this guy, try something else. But I can't, help but be impressed with this Skip Schumacher guy, who every time I hear him speak, I'm thinking, all right, this guy is like, he's razor sharp. He is a good choice as manager of the ball club, and so far so good. He's gotten what I think are remarkable results from a team that didn't look all that great to begin with.
Yeah, I'm with you. When they let go of Mattingly, I think I wrote a column saying, okay, they hired Skip Shoemaker. He might be great, but he's not going to matter till the lineup matters. Yeah. And he's done something. I don't know exactly what, but little things like they didn't take infield last year before games. It was weird. Now they got Shoemaker on one side of the plate and another assistant an assistant on the other side hitting alternating infield ground balls every day. Little things like that. That's a small thing, but it's a telling thing. Okay, fielding matters. Speaking of Arias, the weirdest thing to me about getting him isn't that he hits. It is that he hits to this degree, but he hit in Minnesota. The oddest thing is Minnesota didn't think he could play second base. They had him playing first base. They didn't think he could be an infielder.
And he's good.
the infield.
good.
Look at last night. He made a couple of great.
He had some
plays.
gems. Yes.
I mean, so yeah, it's all. Here we are, mid-August, and they're in the hunt, and I had no idea that this was coming. With you going back to April,
Kim Ng, we were trying to figure out what exactly her accomplishment list would include. And thinking it might be a very short-term tenure here, unless she was working cheap. But you would have to say, I mean, I was not a fan. Avisail Garcia has been a stiff, but I thought Solera was very disappointing last year. This year, he was hitting the ball, well for power, but his batting average was like Mendoza line. He's improved that and is still hitting for power. Seems to come through in key spots. And then, we're looking at it's almost like you've had a resurrection there of Josh Bell, who we were trying to figure out is Cleveland that much of a dog of a city that just coming to Miami was enough for him to feel like
He's so excited.
he's gone through like a complete
what's
overhaul in terms of rejuvenation?
I mean, last night you had Soler, Arias, and Bell back-to-back home runs, and I when it happened, I said, "Has this ever happened with the Marlins?" Good God! And
One time, yeah.
1998, which was the worst season in Marlins history. The whole breakup of the Marlins and
right,
and all that, and yet they had that. So what a couple wins for the Marlins. You look at the Yankees win, which down 7-3 in the ninth, and they win it, and take 2 or 3 from the Yankees, and now they're sort of in the meat of the schedule, aren't they? And this was where if they're going to fall apart, they would have. And it looked like for a while they were struggling. Now they're 10-10 since the All-Star break, and they've kept themselves in the fight.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable story throughout most of the season, and continues to be amazing, including last night, where they're doing a lot of unprecedented things. So where does that leave us? So with Bruce Sherman and his ownership, I guess our good friend Jeffrey Loria opened up a big mouth and was condemning Derek Jeter and saying that he ruined the stadium by taking the home run, that circus thing that they had out there with the flamingos and everything. Every time a Marlin hit a home run. What did you think about that? I mean, it seemed like they, rejected props from a Cristo Art project. But
I love the home run sculpture. I thought it was something.
I didn't mind it though. Yeah, that was the thing.
And it's just, I know Loria came out statements against Jeter. Look, Jeter was the worst GM possible for the Marlins, from not understanding South Florida at all to being, gifted this franchise for he's not really putting any skin in the game, to his drafts, which was, they were going to rebuild through the draft. And
yes,
there's one player on the team, the backup catcher Fuentes, from the Jeter drafts. I mean, he was awful. And so we asked, okay, Bruce Sherman, let's look. Okay, first of all, he got rid of Jeter. That's a plus. Okay. I know when
and that couldn't have been that easy. All right.
And all that, but it'd be like if Dan Marino goes to Kansas City as the Chiefs GM, and everybody's expected genuflect him in Kansas City. No, he didn't play here. What can he do as GM? Jeter did nothing. So Sherman got rid of him. He hired, or part of the hiring, of Skip Shoemaker, and then when they needed to make trades, he allowed them. Not a lot. They didn't like they crushed the budget to make these trades, but it went up a little, and so you get points for that. So Sherman's doing more than any other owner has here, as far as putting a winning product out there and making some moves that were substantial towards that.
Should the Herald have given Jeffrey Loria a platform to speak about the status of the Marlins? I mean, ran the biggest sports Ponzi scheme ever. This guy.
Yeah, who wants to hear about Loria complaining about anything?
Get the hell out of here.
After the way he raped this this
scumbag.
city financially. So
Yeah.
look,
I mean, it was like O.J.
Well,
Simpson
exactly.
pirating cable TV
Exactly.
and getting in a jackpot after they got off on a murder rap. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just go away, O.J. Go away. Go play some golf in the Bahamas, and don't speak to anybody that that is going to publish anything that you have to say. All right. So this is good, and it's another part of the Cinderella story. Will the Dolphins be part of that Cinderella story, in your opinion, Dave Hyde? And did you have any impressions of their opening effort in the preseason besides let's not get carried away?
I have no impressions other than they haven't looked good offensively. I was out there at practice yesterday, last week, the exhibition. I don't know what that means. You don't like to stack back to back to back, mediocre to poor practices together. Now, what it means come opening day, I mean, we're still almost a month away, 3 weeks away. So there's no panic time. I think they look, this is a stacked roster. They sacrificed 3+ years to get to this point. And now they have about a year to maybe 2 years, depending on what they do with some contracts, to make a run at it. So if they don't make a run at it this year, they're in trouble. But look, this is stacked. It's a stacked roster with some severe questions of health, from Teron Armstead to obviously Tua, Bradley Chubb. Some of their big names have injury history, and they got to dodge those as best as possible. And they got to dodge the AFC. The AFC is stacked too. I mean, people say Tua is a top 12 quarterback in the league. That may be true, but he's maybe 8th or 9th in the AFC just because of how good right now the AFC is. So this is their time, and we'll see what they make of it.
Look, and that's the thing, is the roster is stacked, and that's why I've had some confidence in. My problem is where the deficiencies lie. It feels like they didn't really address it, and I don't know who they could have gotten on the offensive line to save the day, but it's pretty clear. Look, you said it. Your two biggest injury concerns is actually not Bradley Chubb, as full of injuries as he's been. It's Teron Armstead and Tua Tagovailoa, and we saw the two quarterbacks behind Tua Friday. Neither of those is someone you want to see in an NFL game, and the offensive line is not better. It feels like they didn't improve it at all. For all that Greer has done with the roster, it's confusing to me how they haven't targeted the offensive line more when it's come to acquisitions and transactions.
Yeah, well, they've targeted it. I mean, they spent a second and a third round pick on Liam Eichenberg, and he's the real question of the line right now. And then it's teetering whether he'll start or Isaiah Wynn. It tells you the situation they're in, where a career tackle is now being moved to guard and might start there. And so, but in fairness, and look, I'm with you. Every year we come, when's the offensive line going to be fixed? Their offensive line is better than the Jets. It's better than the Patriots right now. You go around the league, and there's offensive line problems pretty much on every team. The only disappointing part is, again, the Dolphins spent 3 years collecting draft picks, and then the past 2 years spending free agent money and getting rid of draft picks to get to this point. And some of the same questions remain. And now Austin Jackson might have turned a corner. We'll see. I got to see it in a game. But the way they're talking about him, the way he's talking about himself, is that he's a different player than, the last, he was injured last year, and he's been injured a lot. But he's not the player they thought he was, because they thought he was a left tackle. But still, if he can be just an average right tackle, that would be a step up for this offensive line.
Yeah, Lubie may turn out to be right about this, but I love the fact that off one deflected ball in the end zone that went for an interception, he is determined that Mike White should never sniff the field in an NFL game. of preseason game number 1. As we warn people all the time, Dave, end of conclusions, it's just a preseason. It's a schmanky practice.
Yeah, Lubie, way to go, baby. I love the hard take off of preseason game. That's tremendous.
You should have heard him earlier on baseball. I mean, literally, Joe Garagiola was ready to write him a check. I mean, from heaven. Just saying, wow, that really set the stage for the rest of the season, because he said, if the Marlins can keep doing this, they're in there with a chance. Which, I thought, wow, that really sums it up there. You can use that, Dave, if you want to. You're stuck for a column.
I like it. They did that for 2 or 3. It would be a statement. Mike White,
Yeah.
When
He had his ups and downs last year when given a chance to play. I mean, he looked good and he looked bad.
Yeah, he was handpicked by Mike McDaniel to come into this offense, similar offense as the Jets. As he says, obviously the big difference is they're throwing downfield a lot more with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But yeah, to be honest, I thought you'd see a little bit more now. His first steps with a new team and all that, we'll see. But he's a half a step up from Skylar Thompson, I guess, would be what I see in practice in the games. Now, does that change come September and October when he's a little more comfortable? That's what we'll have to wait to see.
All right. So the bigger question is this: is a healthy Tua good enough to have a team, that he leads to a championship?
Well, my thought on Tua is if everybody, it's sort of, and I'm not saying he's Ryan Tannehill, but the thought's the same. If everybody around him's good enough, he can be good enough. He needs Teron Armstead. He needs, the number one guy that's got to stay healthy on the Dolphins is Tyreek Hill. He makes everything go on this team. He did last year. I've never seen a guy run more wide open a star than he did last year, and the pressure he puts on the defense allows others to get open too. So you got a chance when he steps on the field. But he's got to improve some things. Look, he was, I think, ranked second in the league throwing to the middle of the field and 22nd throwing outside the numbers. So what happened at the end of last year, starting with the Chargers game? Yeah, they started packing the middle of the field, taking that away, making them throw outside. And what's going to happen this year, I would imagine, because their defensive coordinators have had a off season to go over everything he did, is, they're going to do something of that nature too. So the question becomes, okay, what is a Dolphin? How do they answer? What adjustments have they made? And, we'll see it right away from game one when they go against a very good Chargers team and even more than they were last year. They're healthy. They got Joey Bosa. They got their cornerback,
James is back.
J.C. Jackson, just on defense back. So it'll be a good, first month for the Dolphins to say who they are.
All right, this is, anytime I want to irritate Lubie on the program, I always bring up that the Dolphins may have doomed the franchise, into perpetuity by not taking Justin Herbert with that number 5 pick and taking Tua, which I was a fan of Tua at the time.
People started on that. We have to move beyond that, Defo. We have to move beyond.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, and but people will theorize that, and I'm not sure. That Tua has convinced me yet that, even given the best of circumstances, as you pointed out, it does seem like you can find ways, to force him into his flaws. Where, even if it means like having him run to his right all the time and trying to throw the ball left-handed, which he seems to be far weaker at, as most people would be, than if he's going to his left. So they can find ways to defend him. I don't know that, that bodes well for him being a championship caliber quarterback, but we'll see. It would be nice to, seems like a guy that you root for. And, I would be very happy if I turned out to be wrong about that. All right. We were talking about, all of these things, and it's interesting because in the 20 minutes you've been on, you haven't mentioned Damian Lillard. And we had a little challenge earlier thinking, would you bring it up if we didn't? Or is that just a quiet story that eventually is going to transpire. What's your feeling about that?
I think we'll wake up one day and the trade's made. I think
Okay.
that's how it'll happen. I don't think there's anywhere else Portland can go. If there was, it would have bubbled to the surface. No team wants to take on a guy who's owed $62 million in the last year of his contract at age 34, 35 at that point, who doesn't want to be there. And he's made it really clear he wants to go to the Heat. And so the question becomes, when does Portland take whatever is behind door number 1, 2, or 3 that probably the Heat have put options up with some other team or teams involved in the trade. So I just think we'll wake up one day and the trade will be made.
How caught up are you currently in Messi mania? Because the Messi Meister takes the field again tonight. Inter Miami CF, which was a virtual unknown commodity, is in the international spotlight now. It seems almost on a daily basis. And I mean, have you seen the inter office memo, the communication in the MLS that stipulates that nobody is allowed to be within 10 yards of Messi when he's around the goal?
If I was another team, I would stay completely away from. He's the golden goose of the league. Double subscriptions of Apple for the MLS, and ticket prices going for 10 times. Man, I'm caught up in it. I watch the games. I subscribe to Apple TV where I didn't have it.
Oh yeah, get out of here! You bought
MLS package that at $39 that I didn't have before. And look, when he came over here, I follow, Europe, mainly Premier League, but obviously other, follow Messi just because he's Messi.
Sure.
When he came over here, I thought it would be like if Tom Brady left the Patriots, and I wrote this, when he left the Patriots, he didn't go to Tampa Bay. He went back to the University of Michigan and he played there. it will be a elite player playing among college kids, and even I couldn't have predicted though that what's he got 8 goals and so far he's and it's a lot of fun. So I mean, what a great addition. All of a sudden, the MLS is relevant in South Florida where it was non-existent before.
Can anybody figure out, though, what their season's all about? Because now that they're in this tournament, which doesn't count for anything, they're having to, postpone regular season games. Is that not one of the things that's happening where Messi's regular season debut was scheduled for a certain time, but because they're still alive in this League of Nations or whatever this thing is, that they don't even know when they're going to resume their regular season. So what does it mean to be in a regular season in the MLS?
Well, it's sort of like, again, this is how it works in soccer.
Who does that? Nobody.
EPL, all the soccer leagues do this.
They do it all over the world.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's more than one competition going on at the same time. There's the Champions League in addition to the Premier League, in addition to the FA Cup that involves just English teams. So this is it's a new thing, I guess, if you haven't followed soccer, but it's common in soccer, and things have to get rescheduled if a team makes a long run through this league's cup between Mexican League and the MLS. So, the amazing thing, the Inter Miami hadn't won in 11 straight games before he came, and they haven't lost since he's arrived.
Because nobody defends against him. It's incredible. I mean, the guy literally is standing in front of the goal. It's almost like watching the old Gators, Steve Spurrier offense, where Danny Werfel is the quarterback, and he's throwing balls that look like you need to invoke the infield fly rule, but there's like 10 guys open down the field. And you're wondering what happened. Do they have no defensive backs on the other team, and they're all just yelling here, here? And that's Messi.
I'm sure he's amazed by the speed of the game is slower. The amount of time he has to make plays. He has a lot more time to make plays than he did over in Europe, and it is literally a man among boys.
It's great. All right. Well, Dave, you are a man among just a giant in the industry when it comes to any kind of newspaper work, and glad to see the Sun Sentinel still putting out the sports section and featuring you prominently. And I guess what Winderman. Who else is left? I mean, holding a flag over there. Oh, our good friend David
Rice
Rice.
Started to write for us. Grantland Rice is coming back. He's making a comeback.
Rice is coming back. I was hoping for Charlie Bricker, and you're bringing back Grantland Rice. Nice.
So yeah, we got. We're still putting it out, just like you are.
Still cranking.
You're still going.
I'll be doing this to my grave. I believe that to be true. So hopefully we'll start making some money with it soon. All right, thanks, Dave. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, Defo. Thanks for having me.
All right, Dave Hine, ladies and gentlemen. Very optimistic about a lot of stuff here, Lubie. I mean, this would actually at this point, Lubie, I would have to say if the Marlins fail to make the postseason, I would find it, somewhat deflating, wouldn't you?
Look, the fact they've been around.
I am now slightly invested emotionally in what they're doing.
Look,
and the crowds. I mean, they had people last night. It wasn't all Houston fans. They don't have that many. The Houston Astros have fans around the country.
No, not in South Florida.
No.
I
You ever see anybody with a Houston jersey on or a cap? Almost never. I saw a few people in the stands, wearing Houston paraphernalia there, but in general, it seemed like a decent. I mean, a Monday night, late in the season, Lone Shark Park, 6:40 start, tough to get to, and that's one of the things that people have been screaming about forever. That would it be? Would you be inclined to go to more games if the stadium wasn't going to be a driving nightmare to go and attend a game at that hour if you were leaving from Broward County? What do you think? Because it's a distant consideration for me. It just is.
I don't think about going to games.
I don't feel like schlepping down there at that hour.
It's a pain in the ass. I mean, I don't know. I stopped going to games because they frustrated me with their play on the field. They've been better this year, so I should be thinking more about going. But I don't know. I've gotten such the habit of not going to their games that it's hard to kickstart it. It's just hard to get it
going. For me, driving south into Dade County at that time, and as soon as you get by the Golden Glades interchange, it almost transitions into being Martin Sheen going down the river there in Apocalypse Now, right? Where you don't know what's happening next. Guy could be shooting, could be Zulu warriors there, on the barrier wall, just ready to blow poison darts in your car. I mean, what the hell happens once you get down there? Now, you're not getting off the highway, but I don't even know if that's good anymore here in South Florida. It's returned back to the cocaine cowboy days, has it not? There was just another incident yesterday where somebody was shooting at somebody on the highway, and they ended up in I don't know if those people ended up in a fatal crash, but there was like a big crash that was the end result of some kind of weirdo car chase, I think. But it was a shooting incident, and it's not uncommon. Remember that when I see you weren't around? I mean, you weren't cognizant of this. You weren't even born, right?
No.
Early '80s. I mean, you'd be driving on the turnpike, and all of a sudden you'd see like a car drive by, like come speeding by, and riddled with bullet holes. And then there's somebody behind him with like a machine gun. I get you.
That's crazy.
Crazy shit. All right, we're coming back with more, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird schlep at that time. I mean, I like the fact that they start these games early. That would normally be, very convenient for somebody that was traveling from Palm Beach or Broward County, because there's no alternate route, and it's straight down. There's no way around this, right? You can't circle around this thing. You're going straight down 95, and if you're doing that at like 6 o'clock at night, it can be very unpleasant, Lubie.
Oh no, you're going to be in traffic. I mean, there's no way to avoid it.
And I don't know that I'm, I mean, is there enough stuff around there where you go make an afternoon of it? Go we should check with Mayo on this, right? He'd be more familiar with it than we are. But, are there places you go and just hang out there and, you drive down there early so you'll dodge the traffic and then you go have dinner somewhere? Not around the stadium, that's for sure. Unless you want to eat at that Shell gas station. What was the name of that? What's the name of that bar? That's there by the, what was the Orange Bowl? The Orange Bowl bar, wasn't that it? Wasn't
No,
it just called the Orange Bowl?
no clue.
No, I mean it was a classic old bar. I mean a real dive bar type of place, right by the old OB. People used to go in there; it would be jammed before and after hurricane games. All right, we're coming. No Blackie, no Blackie. We're coming back with more in a moment here. Thanks to Dave Hyde for joining us, and later on today we'll have Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Tomorrow we're in Boca, so that should be fun. Max's Grill, which is a great place. I've always enjoyed dining there over the years. It's been there for a long time. Bert Rappaport, again, involved in this thing from the very beginning. And anything this guy touches, it turns to gold there, Lubie.
Yes, sir.
It's absolutely great. Yeah. So we'll be there tomorrow with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That should be a lot of fun. That's a rare Boca Raton appearance by the crew. At 12 o'clock, we'll have that show. And no doubt, I mean, some good food there. They have a great menu. Really good food. Have you ever eaten Max's Grill?
I used to go there to go out when I was in college. I've never actually eaten there.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider that high-end dining, but then, you can go in there and get like a really good, casual lunch also.
Nice.
Sit outside there. It's very, very nice. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on today's edition of the Defo Show. Now that.
The time.
Another Cinderella story, Louie. It's 8:30.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzi, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzi, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show, here on this fine Tuesday, cruising along. Mike Lubitz is with me. And, wow, I mean, just been very, very exciting. All of the sporting activity that we've had here. We haven't had this much of an uplifting series of seasons in my lifetime here in South Florida. It's never been this good. Especially, I mean, Lubie has great expectations, the old Charles Dickens thing for the Miami Dolphins. Many other people share your opinion, Lubie. And I won't say I don't know that I'm pessimistic about it. It's weird now because I'm still struggling to evaluate the 17-game season. Right? You're thinking, okay, the team goes 10-7. Is that really all that much to write home about? Should you be thrilled 10-7? And yet that would represent an improvement over the last couple of years, including last year when it appeared that the Dolphins were going to be a juggernaut and exceed everybody's expectations until all of a sudden you had Tua go down. When he came back, good point by Dave Hyde. They started defending him and pack in the middle of the field, and they forced him to do what he doesn't want to do, which is always a great way to defend somebody, Lubie, is it not? Force somebody away from their strengths. They may still beat you, but at least you forced them to really have to work for it. And Tua's throws outside the numbers on the field, the yard markers are not great always. in spite of the fact that he has, I mean, you can't forget, they have Jalen Waddle also. I mean, you think Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle would be like a Tyreek Hill on any team.
Yes.
This guy, what has he played? Was it just 2 years now, or 2 years? And evolved. I mean, from a sensational rookie season, was even better last year.
Yes.
Benefiting naturally from the presence of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, as Dave also pointed out, I mean, we haven't seen anything like this, including during the Clayton and Duper era, where Dolphin wide receivers were that wide open almost on a regular basis. And then, you had running backs catching the ball, tight ends, great offensive, explosiveness that they had. And yet they still only won the 9 games for the season, 9-8, not exactly juggernaut type of stuff, as we said earlier. And we also have to figure out what to make of Mike McDaniel as a head coach, which most people conceded him as being like some sort of emerging genius last year. But is that because he really is a genius at football, or because his post-game press conferences and anytime you see him in an interview, he's sort of morphing into, I mean, the hair is in better shape, but he's starting to sound like Professor Irwin Corey, is he not? Is he morphing into Corey? Am I wrong about that, Lubie? Where, he finishes up the conversation and you're like, what the fuck did that guy say? And yet he's addressing something, and it seems to be very deep in his analysis. He's got his eyes closed and his, mind, wandering deeply into his head as if he was Dr. Timothy Leary, experiencing some kind of acid trip. And it's all to describe, whether or not he thinks his offensive line will be able to hold up in the second half. Sure. Yeah, I think they'll hold up.
My issue is,
none of that.
Look, I think, I don't know about I hate the genius thing. They've got out of hand with that. I think he's an interesting offensive mind. The problem with him is, and other people caught on to it. I don't know if I was first, but I was bitching about it.
But should we recuse you from any kind of judgmental conversation about a coach, because you would be bitching about whatever he did?
I wasn't. I liked him early on. My problem was he wouldn't stick with the run, and every person we've talked to has said this. So
yes, this is true.
Didn't say it at the time. I would watch the games going, run the fucking football, run the fucking football, run the fucking football, and he would fall in love. Even with Tua was one thing, but he would do it with Skylar Thompson. I'm like, dude, you have Skylar Thompson out there. He's not fucking good. Mostert and Wilson are running the hell out of the ball. Run the ball.
Did Mostert average over 5 yards a carry last year?
He averaged higher than most of the great backs in the league. But
very few backs ever have averaged 5 yards a carry.
He wouldn't. Look, I understand as a coach, you got to trust your quarterback. But sometimes it's like the coaches in baseball where they look at the numbers too much. Sometimes just look at what the hell you're seeing with your eyes. Like if you're getting 4 yards every down, that gives you 3rd and 2. Wouldn't you rather have 3rd and 2 than 3rd and 7? Especially with Skylar Thompson, who sucks. Stop trusting in guys who suck. Like it's okay to realize.
All right, so you're essentially, putting him right on the border of being a part of the lunatic fringe when it comes to coaching. Brandon Staley assessment probably is more flattering than what you're implying about Mike McDaniel.
It was year 1 with him. He wasn't Staley where he would just totally lose games. Like Staley would literally just lose games. Like he's not that, and he wasn't the guy, the idiot.
He went for a lot of 4th and shorts, situations inside the.
When he would throw it, it would be 4th and 1, and he would throw it with Skylar Thompson, and it's like, dude, come on. So that's the stuff that supposedly he realizes he's admitted to, and he's gonna work on. Cool, and then it's also don't overthink it. Like don't overthink stuff. Sometimes,
but isn't that not his nature?
And that's
based on what he says. This guy is as thorough. I mean, literally, you don't know if you're talking to Ray Nitschke or Nietzsche.
That's the problem. You have
where you're thinking, what kind of philosophical level is this on? What this guy is talking about.
You have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. It's 3rd and 2. Don't throw a 40-yard bomb. Let's get a fucking first down. Let's keep let's keep it moving. And that's a lot of the time. This is all Skylar Thompson related to me.
But don't people hate conservative coaching just as much?
I don't mind you chucking it down the field here and there, but don't live and die by it. Like, just get the
Yeah.
ball, and you have all these guys with all this talent and speed. Get the ball in their hands and let them make plays. And too often, he fell in love with the big play. Remember, last year, that's all they were. They were boom or bust. They either were big play or nothing. And you're not going to win in the playoffs.
Time of possession would be like 44 minutes in favor of the other
Yeah.
team to the Dolphins 16.
When they were running it,
And yet the Dolphins will win the game 29-27.
look, it happens here and there, but that 6-game losing streak, that was the problem, was he
Yes.
wasn't having these long, even though they would run it well. Like, look, he supposedly, the run game was a big part of his offense, and then he came here and he would just forget the run. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. And he's addressed it. So I'm hoping in year 2 you see that growth from him.
Sustaining drives,
Yes.
you know, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that also as a key, because it's often referenced that you would see Tom Brady on the sidelines as the 49ers were putting together an 11-minute, 37-second drive. And even though it only resulted in a field goal, it was as good as having your defense shutting out, a top quarterback that's stuck on the sidelines there and unable to do anything.
Yep.
I mean, you look, as evidenced by, I don't know, can we say this? The great Bill Belichick? Well, would you concede that Belichick is a great coach?
Yes.
Or do you feel like others that are now detractors of Belichick saying that if it weren't for the cheating, he would be nothing, as evidenced, and Tom Brady, he would be nothing, as evidenced by what's going on now? I actually thought with a fairly shitty team, he didn't do badly last year.
Look, I'm not,
Bill
it's
Belichick.
hard for me to praise Belichick. I think the cheating is there, and I think their marriage, Brady and Belichick, had a lot to do with each other's success.
But that would be true in any circumstance. I mean, Marino didn't help out Don Shula in the latter stages of his career.
100%. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's hard for me to say he's not great. I mean, the guy was really good at coaching. I also think the cheating helped a lot. Like, he didn't, the idea,
Would Bill Walsh have had the same success with Bobby Briscoe as he
no.
had with Joe Montana?
100%. I mean, they go hand in hand. Chuck Noll needed Terry Bradshaw. Like, they go hand in hand. They do. But these other guys don't have 7 different cheating scandals on their track record.
Unscrupulous, you would have to say,
I just
might actually be a flattering term to apply to Bill Belichick. But that being said, I mean, the point of what I was
He's a good
getting to is this will always stick with me when he went for the 4th and 29, as if it was, the University of Miami going against Notre Dame, finding Randall Hill. He went for like a 4th and 29 because he wanted to keep Peyton Manning off the field,
that was weird.
even though he was in the shadow of his own goal line, and everybody thought he was crazy. But at that time, Manning was so hot that if you put him out there, you were going to give up 7 points anyway. So you thought, I mean, using discretion here, you'd almost rather, just turn the ball over, at least with a shot to retain possession, because sustaining drives was about the only way to beat this guy at that time, Peyton Manning. So you would think that maybe that would lend itself. I mean, who's talking to McDaniel? Who's helping him out? Chris Greer, the general manager? Is he saying, hey, listen, Mike, let's run the ball once in a while?
Well, someone has to be. Yes, someone has to be in his look. Vic Fangio, maybe
who speaks to him though about these sort of things? I mean, you know that if Eric Spoelstra is doing something consistently that is rubbing Pat Riley the wrong way, he probably at some point says, "Hey, listen, Spo, you were nothing without me. I took you out of the film room. You were filming bar mitzvahs, and now here you are, respected as first ballot Hall of Fame coach, right up there with Popovich and all the best." Nobody talks about Chuck Daly anymore. They're all talking about Spoelstra. Nobody talks about Ren Auerbach anymore. They're all talking about Spoelstra. So listen, Spo, you listen to me.
Sure.
I say you bench this guy, you bench him.
I don't know if he does that these days, but
who's talking to McDaniel, though? Do the Dolphins have anybody in a position of authority that would be respected enough, short of digging up Shula? What would you say? I mean, because that seems like a simple change that you would want to implement, does it not?
Yes.
You have a running game. Everybody that talks about football, analyzes football, would say, what's the best thing you could do for an offensive line? Run the ball. Let these guys go out there and tee off on the opposition. They're getting that full steam ahead mentality now. And, then, of course, that's going to help you in pass protection, is it not?
Yes. Being able to run the ball consistently opens things up a great deal. It's an old football adage. I'm hoping that Vic Fangio, Fangio was a disaster as a head coach, but he's a ridiculously respected defensive mind. So you would think he knows something about both sides of the ball. So I'm hoping that's.
You think Fangio's going to?
I'm hoping he's a guy that's going to be like, look, dude, Come here. What the fuck? You know, like he's an old dude. McDaniel targeted Fangio. Like it wasn't like the Dolphins thrust him. This is the opposite. McDaniel wanted to bring in Fangio last year, and the Dolphins did that bullshit with Josh Boyer. This year, they got in a bidding war with the Saints over the Broncos. Was it the Broncos? I think Peyton wanted him, right? So they got in a bidding war with the Broncos over Fangio. McDaniel was behind that. McDaniel wanted Fangio. McDaniel was willing to go get an older dude who's extremely respected to go be pretty much the head of the defensive side, right? So to me, I'm hoping that guy has the credit behind him to go and say, look, man, you can't just keep chucking it down the goddamn field. Like that's actually something I was excited about the Fangio hire, not only to help the defense, but also to help McDaniel, to have another guy on that staff that has a lot of coaching experience to rein him in. Because that was his problem last year. Last year, he did the getting cute thing a lot. Like I would watch him going, what do you just kick the fucking field goal, man? Like
did a few of those.
10. Yeah. You're not at the 2. You're at the 10-yard line. It's 4th and 4. It's not 4th and 1. Kick the field goal. Get the 3 points.
All right. So he has to improve as a head coach. Is what
yeah. But I expect it to happen. Like it is year 2. You know, like you would think.
You would think it would help to have been in these situations. There was some end game stuff too. That you looked at Mike McDaniel, and some of the moves seemed a little bit curious. I suppose that's true about all coaches. As you see them in different circumstances, even guys that are considered the best of the best, right? You could probably look at Andy Reid and say, "Oh, geez, what the hell is the fat man thinking there?" As he makes a couple of moves, especially when they don't work, because that's always the best form of coming to a decisive opinion about something is having the opportunity to analyze it in hindsight. I know. How did I leave out the 2? Because you're an idiot. Because you're a loser. That's how you left out the 2. That's what it is. Preseason football coming up again this week.
Thursday, yes, sir.
Now, here's the beauty of it. And there used to be, as we often talk about, this so-called structure to the preseason, and you would see starters probably take a couple of snaps in the first game.
Yep.
And then, you know what? They're going to go like into the second quarter today.
Yes.
And that was a big deal, right? Everybody was, oh, wow, this is going to be something. Oh, well, let's watch this. Dolphins and the Falcons here. They're going to have the starters into the second quarter. And then, of course, the third game was always the well-known dress rehearsal. Starters are going to play into the third quarter in this one, and then we'll see what we have to back them up. But now it's just helter-skelter. It's total chaos. It's pandemonium. I would have no idea what to anticipate to look for in this game coming up against the Houston Texans. Would you? No clue.
I'm hoping this is the game where you'll see guys.
You're hoping to see Mike White, going like 12 for 14 for 2 touchdowns, no picks, and throw for 172 yards in the first half. Sit down, make way for Skylar Thompson, who reverts back to his preseason form of a year ago. And you leave the ball game with the impression you can be placated that they actually have decent backup quarterback play. What do you think?
I'm hoping to see Tua a little bit.
Tua?
Yeah, I see Tua a little bit, at least a couple drives, and then see Mike White.
I want to see Tua juggling 2 footballs on the sideline.
I don't want to see him at all. Like, I think he should get out there a little.
I don't need it, right? Supposedly these practices are accomplishing. Understanding that it wouldn't be bad to get a couple of snaps in live action. Or do you just look at the first game of the season and take your chances that the guy's ready to go? What do you think, Libby?
I'd like to see him a little bit. I understand the preseason doesn't matter. The preseason's a bullshit. But I still like to see him a couple drives. Like, it's still live action games where I know these scrimmages and these practices are everything now, but you can't tell me it's the same thing as having like some kind of a crowd and some kind of television presence and having full officiating crews and replays and penalties, really. And I know they call penalties, but come on, like, I feel like there's got to be some kind of a difference. We still have the preseason for a reason. Like, I'd like to see him a couple drives. Don't hurt him. Don't risk him, but a couple drives. Like, if he can't play a couple drives, then it doesn't matter. Like, if he can't stay healthy for 2 drives, then what the fuck does any of it matter? Like, it won't matter.
Yeah. This is they should issue the wrestling disclaimer before these preseason games. This is strictly an exhibition to show the skill and stamina of the athletes.
Exactly.
And any use of the play-by-play pictures and descriptions and accounts of this event are strictly prohibited. Right? I mean, I don't know. With the new structure of the way things are done, I have no idea what to anticipate. And the one big problem, I guess, that was alluded to often during the telecast of the Dolphins' first preseason game was pre-snap penalties.
Yes, they were bad at it last year, and they've been bad at it all.
So timing an issue there.
Yes.
Does that not speak to Mike McDaniel and his ability to coordinate an offense, Mr. Philosopher?
Oh, I would think you would want more plays together. Like they have stuff they have to work out.
All right, I'm in a panic now that we've actually sat down and analyzed this thing. I mean, I don't see him winning 6 games. All right, we're going to come back with more. We'll wrap things up. The Marlins rain hot tonight at 6:40. They go once again to the post. They have a 1-game lead over the Cubs and the Reds in the wild card chase. They're currently immersed in the 3rd spot, only a half game back of the San Francisco Giants, who are currently occupying the 2nd place in there. And so, wow, I mean, a win tonight would be humongous. They will be throwing on the mound. What do we got here? Astros, Marlins. Javier for the Astros, 8-2 with a 4.36 earned run average.
Nice.
Team's record in games that he's pitched and started, 15-7. So he's been a very positive influence in spite of an earned run average that isn't exactly what you would consider to be stellar or representative of a guy who's won 8 of his 10 decisions so far this year. The Marlins will counter. And here's another one. Kim Ng moves Johnny Cueto, who hasn't done much. He's been, he was injured and recently came back since his return in decisions. He's 0-3.
Yeah, he's horrible. Yeah.
Pitching to a 5.33 earned run average. It seems to me, Lubie, that I always see Cueto exiting the game after like 2 2/3, having given up 5 runs. Is that? I mean, I'll tune in the game. I go, okay, the Marlins are on, and there's Johnny Cueto, and he's coming off the mound there, and it's like 5-0 on the scoreboard, 2 2/3. Is that what we're going to get tonight? Is this? I mean, the Marlins, if they can pull this one off with Johnny Cueto, and that was another one of the Kim Ng acquisitions in the offseason. This one, didn't work out too favorably so far. So maybe even that starts to pay some dividends. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, God. If they can get a win with Cueto, I'm chalking this up to a loss. They can somehow pull this one out of their ass. That'd be wonderful.
Can you imagine getting a win there with Cueto tonight? And the odds are sort of prohibitive, actually, considering what would seem to be a blatant mound mismatch with a guy 8-2 in there. The Astros, you have to lay 130 to win 100 on the Astros. You get $1.10 for 100 if you bet the Marlins tonight. That doesn't seem like a very good price, does it? Johnny Cueto on the mound? Should it not be like at least plus 160, Lubie? I mean, give me a break, you bookmaking, ball-busting son of a bitch. Unbelievable. That's my message to the FanDuel people, although we'll be very happy to represent them once we get around to that gambling show. All right, back with more in a moment. We'll wrap things up. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox coming away 12 o'clock today, and that'll be the home game, and then we'll be on the road the rest of the week, apparently. Maybe not Thursday. We're not sure yet. A couple of locations under consideration there, but Max's Grill in the Meisner Park section there of Boca Raton. Great place. Unbelievable. Good food, drink, atmosphere. Top-notch restaurant, so that'll be a lot of fun. Can I order the Brussels sprouts, Louis? I'm sure they're great there. Brussels sprouts.
Have them? I don't know their menu.
I think they do. They have that kind of stuff. Yeah, they got a pretty wide variety of things. All right, back to finish things off in a moment. Now that.
The time.
And maybe it's a good thing because we're speculating about the meaningless nature of preseason games and then coming right back with definitive conclusions about what the team lacks. It's 8:53.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, we need to check, speaking of bookmakers, with somebody. Are there odds posted on what are the chances in any of these four indictments that Trump will be convicted of any of the, I think it's in excess of 100 charges now that have been levied against him?
100
charges. I believe it is. I don't know. This indictment was pretty widespread. That was just laid out. I'm not sure how many actual criminal charges there were that were laid out. That's interesting, Lubie, that you have a cattail in the center of your shot. Mike Lubie Lubitz walking off with the top prize from today's show, and that is his wonderful cat. How's the cat? The cat gets along with the dog? All right?
She's not his. It's weird. She likes him and she baits him. The problem is he's big as hell. So he runs over to play and he wants to play with her, but he doesn't realize how little she is compared to him. So
the surprise smack from a cat.
She smacks the shit out. It's good for you.
They're in an ambush position on a dog.
She smacks the crap out of her.
Is unbelievable. I mean, it's better than Vladimir Klitschko's right hand.
Good for you. She literally, he comes up and she'll smack it.
Oh man!
And he's like, "What the fuck?"
It's holy cochise, man. Who knew you guys had the vantage point?
And he runs.
Dude, Custer's running in there with his little soldiers. Hey, here we are. They're playing music, right? How dumb were the British, man, to have like a fife and drum corps leading them into battle there? But it's like, what? What are you, Al Hurt? Get the fuck out of here. All right. A lot of fun being with you today. We did have a lot of fun. After the failure comes the finger pointing. That was kind of a theme that was working through the sports sections today. After the failure comes the finger pointing. First, you had Jeffrey Loria pointing a finger at Derek Jeter and saying, not only was this guy a failure, but he ruined everything.
No, he didn't ruin anything.
Took that thing out of Lone Shark Park, which Dave Hyde liked it.
No, that thing was a fucking joke.
Don't you need something though? I mean, isn't it great to have some kind of activity? You hit back to back home runs. How cool would it have been to have that thing going off there, or could they have restarted it 3 times?
I hated that fucking thing. Do fireworks.
You did?
Yeah, that thing was a freaking joke. It was. Jeter.
It did look like it fell off a carnival truck, didn't
yes,
it?
It's
like you're on Okeechobee Road or something, and you're wondering, what am I doing here? Where did I go wrong in life that I ended up on Okeechobee Road? Trying to find some Native American reservation there so you can do a couple of television shows. And then you look on the side there and you're thinking, oh my God, an overturned carnival truck. Oh, and look at that. One of the rides fell off.
That's 100% what it looked like. For sure.
Okay, so you would say his assertion that that was one of the main things that Jeter did that led to the ruination of the franchise and his tenure being deemed to be, as Dave Hyde also pointed out, among the biggest general manager failures. Would that be the biggest failure? Rick Spielman's off the hook.
No, I mean, Jeter sucked, but
Mike Tannenbaum is off the hook. Dale Talon's off the hook.
I mean, Jeter sucked.
What would you think?
Mike Hill sucked too, and Beinfest, after reaping Dave Dombrowski's rewards, Beinfest sucked. Like, Lordy is an idiot, and he's a piece of fucking garbage. Like, I'm sorry, Jeter wasn't good. Don't get me wrong.
Well, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Well, what do you really think about
Jeter
this?
wasn't good. Jeter sucked, but it didn't start with Jeter. It definitely.
It was just such a bitter disappointment that Jeter turned out to be no good at this
Well,
time.
I didn't see you and the Greek had faith in Jeter. I did not. Like
I had faith in him. I did.
Well, you and the Greek were like, why would he come here to lose? And I agreed. He didn't come here to lose, but he had no idea what the hell he was doing. So to assume he'd win, I thought was asinine as well. And that the fact that he came in and got rid of every star just because they had to have a good minor league system, it's like, but you have to get rid of every, like, if you're good at trades, shouldn't 2 stars load up your minor leagues? Like, why should you get rid of 5?
The baseball trade of an established star for prospects, I mean, it has reaped benefits for some teams, right? I mean, you go back and you talk about John Smoltz, being part of a trade with the Braves and coming in as an unknown commodity. I forgot who did they trade for Smoltz again? It was some guy that was at the tail end of his career. And they got Smoltz as a result. I mean, there are many trades that have worked out like that. Where the prospect has been great. Kevin McHale, I guess, was part of a trade, and he was somewhat of a prospect with the Celtics when he was in that Benoit Benjamin deal or whatever that was. I mean, usually in baseball, do you ever hear of the prospects?
No.
Or do we just it takes so long for them to surface that we don't really follow that somebody actually in the long run got hosed in a trade. But the Marlins didn't seem to benefit at all. Not only and as Dave pointed out, I mean, very poor at drafting during the Jeter era, considering that was going to be a point of emphasis for him. I mean, it'd be good to get some scouts that weren't blind as a bat.
Well, that's the thing is, look, Jeter, I never had any high expectations, and Jeter sucked in the end. So it is what it is. But that doesn't get Laurie off the hook. Laurie and Sampson talk like they, like we all forgot. It's like the Trump shit. Like it's not on video, dude.
That was a Doyle Alexander deal, by the way. And he points out, I should have known that.
It didn't start with Jeter. Jeter just carried the torch of being suck. Like, Laurie and Sampson were horrendous. I'm sorry. And and the fact that they all of a sudden want to do revisionist history and hold on to the one title that had nothing to do with them. It was all Dombrowski. That title was Dombrowski.
Yeah.
That title had nothing.
Their main goal always seemed to be what they ultimately achieved, which was to rob the city blind and make a huge profit and, never have to worry about money again. That's for sure. If they did in the first place. I don't know that they did because supposedly Laurie didn't own the shirt on his back when he bought the team. So, they made out pretty well. They got like what, $1.4 billion for a team that they allegedly put up like very little, if any, of their own money to originally purchase.
Get out of here, please.
That was a wild deal, huh? I mean, that was Bud Selig. You talk about criminal Sepp Blatter-like activity. Something happened there that wasn't exactly kosher. Surprised they were even allowed to put a kosher corner into the stadium when they were running the team because nothing they did appeared to be above board when it came to the acquisition. All right, enough of that. But finger pointing, right? And the same thing, Verlander now pointing fingers at the Mets. Justin Verlander, because after the failure comes the finger pointing, Lubie. That's the way it is in sports. And we hope you don't subscribe to that theory. Just forget about it. Move on. You don't have to go back and trash the people that then came after you or after you've left the situation. Just leave them be, right? We all know what happened with the Mets. What? I mean, the other day, they were thinking about penciling in Jim Hickman into the lineup. They may as well. Because, they have set the clock back in time there. Steve Cohen, all of his millions couldn't do it. Billions. All right, we will see you later on, 12 o'clock today, as we'll bring you Mike Mayo's Lunchbox with the longtime sports writer and editorial columnist and then food critic for the Sun Sentinel, now in charge of just an absolutely maniacal group of Let's Eat South Floridians who,
let's go.
And now 116,000 strong. Pretty good. There on Facebook. All right, so we'll see you at 12 o'clock today. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, Dave Hyde, thanks for joining us. I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
We didn't establish much today, did we, Lubie? You talk about filling airtime. That was an example of 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.